Once we have linked in the recap data or the scan data into Revit, it's really important for us to make sure the data doesn't move because the data is set on coordinates and we do not need to fiddle with the coordinates. To make sure that it doesn't move, we'll have to first select the scan. First, click on the scan. The thing is, the scan is not getting selected. The reason being, if you check the selection bar here, the first option which says select links is off. We'll have to turn it on by clicking on it. Now it is on. Now Revit will let us select the data. So click on the data. Now the data is getting selected. Once it is selected, and once you see the properties of the point cloud in the property window, we'll have to click on the pin button from the modify contextual modification tab. So there is the contextual modification tab which says modify point clouds, and under the modify panel we'll have to click on the pin button so that we do not accidentally move the data. Now the data has been pinned. How we know that? If you just zoom out and if you click on this, see these two bubbles coming up, that means the data has been pinned. If you click on the two bubbles again, it will get unpinned. So to make sure we do not select the data accidentally also, we'll turn off the select links button in the selection bar. The next step is actually setting up the work area. So setting up the work area in Revit requires us to make the scope box. So to make the scope box, we'll in the view window, we'll click on the view cube top view so that we see the top of the scan. We click on the top view. So now we are able to see the plan view of the scan, and this is the area we need to work on. So what we'll be doing is we'll be going to the view tab, and from there we'll have to click on the scope box. But the scope box is unclickable, meaning that it has been disabled. To enable that, we'll have to make some levels because we have previously removed the levels from our project, right? So we'll have to go to the elevation view. So we'll expand the elevation view. We'll go to any one of the elevation view, and now we can see the data is getting loaded, and you can see this is the we can assume that this is the level. Okay, this is the floor level. So just as a marker, we'll go to the architecture tab, and then we'll have to click on the level button under the datum panel. And here we'll define a level, just a level for which we need to define a view. We'll draw out this level. So now we'll click on the other line to make the level. So we have made the level. We now see the level 2 has been created. We'll wait for it to process the scan because the scan is big and it will take some time to process it. Now once we are done drawing the level, we'll come out of the level command by pressing escape key 2 times, or we click on the modify button here. Now we have got the floor plan along with the level. So we'll go to the floor plan view, level 2. We'll wait for the scan to load. Now once you see the scan is loaded, in this orthographic view we can define the scope box. So we'll go to the view tab again, and we click on the scope box again. And this is the area which I see we need to work on. So we'll draw a rectangle around that area with the scope box. And once we have the scope box, we see the north elevation view is still open. And with the scope box being selected, we'll go to the north elevation view again, and we'll try to see the boundary of the scope box. The boundary is not visible in this view, so we'll have to go to the 3D view. The 3D view, we can see the scope box is visible. We have already drawn the extent of the scope box in the plan, but we'll have to adjust it for the elevation also. So we'll have to orbit the view around like this so that the height can be adjusted. So like this, we adjust the height of the scan, properly height and width of the scan. Whatever you see the extent of the scan in a 3D view, we'll adjust it, and we'll now go to the level 2 again, level 2 floor plan again, and we'll set the, like, we'll deselect everything. We'll press double escape, make sure nothing is selected. So we see the property of the floor plan view, okay, and in there, in the scope box setting under the extend groups, we'll have to set the scope box to scope box 1 so that only the cropped area is visible. Now that the scope box is set up, we'll now set up different views for us to work in the point cloud project. So first of all, we'll start with 3D view. So we'll expand the 3D view, and we'll right click on the existing 3D view, duplicate with detailing, okay, so that we have got the another view, okay, and here we'll set the scope box to scope box 1, the one which we have created. And now once we have established a bounding box around the scan, we'll remove the scope box so that we get the section box. And now we click on the scope box, okay, now we see the scope box selected. We right click on it, and we'll hide that scope box in this view. So hide in view element. So we have actually disabled the visibility of the scope box, and now we see the section box. So we click on the section box, and with the section box we can control the, like, we can cut the view and see properly how the scan data looks like. Now that the 3D view is set up, we'll name this 3D view to something else. So we'll right click on the view and we'll rename it to 3D section box. Section box. Alright, we'll have to remove this curly braces, so it is not allowed in Revit. 3D, and we'll call it section box. Now we have renamed this view to 3D section box where we can see our data properly. And now we'll again rename this level to level 0. So we'll go to the north elevation, and we'll double click on the level name, and we'll call it level 0. Alright. Now what we'll do is, to establish levels properly, we'll go back to the floor plan view. Since it is still open, we'll go directly from the tabbed interface. And here we'll go to the view tab and we'll draw a section. So one section will draw a vertical and one other one the horizontal. We'll draw a vertical section view. And now we'll rotate this one with copy. Okay, so we need to copy this to make a horizontal section view. We need to make sure the extent of the section is less so that we see the areas properly. So now we'll click on the section line and we'll call this section vertical and the other one to section horizontal. Horizontal. We'll call this section horizontal. Now under the section group, we see the section views here. Now we'll go to one of the section view, which is section vertical. We'll wait for it to open. Now if we see the level 0 view, or level 0 is here, and it is not properly aligned with the scan. If we zoom in, we see that there is slight fluctuation. So we'll click on the level 0 and we'll click on the move button and we'll move it down so that it matches the section. Again, it has not been moved because the element is too small. So we'll click on the level again and we'll nudge it down with the arrow key. Now we see that it is in line with the scan. Now we'll wait for the complete point cloud to load in so that we see the basement level as well. And now we'll draw up our basement level. So we'll go to the architecture tab and we'll click on the level command. And we see it is slightly like sloped, but we'll adjust it while we model. But for now, we'll have to take a kind of reference like this. And we'll call this basement or we'll call it level -1. Level -1. And we'll press enter. And Revit asks, would you like to rename corresponding views? We'll say yes, so that our views also get renamed along with the level name. And we'll come out of the command by pressing escape key 2 times. So we'll come out of the command by pressing double escape 2 times. And uh, we'll make sure the levels are visible in all the elevation views, whether it's sectional elevation or whether it's the elevation view. So we'll select all the levels what we have in the model, right click on them and we'll click on maximize 3D extrude. Okay,